to see you. Great job as always.
Oh, thank you.
And hope to have you in the studio one night. Come join us. We'd love to have you. All right, welcome to Hannity. We are back with a live audience in a very, what is apocalyptic-looking New York City, which is now suffering from the worst air quality in the history thanks to the wildfires in Canada. By the way, little Justin, thanks a lot. Now, Congresswoman AOC is now blaming climate change and now demanding that the Green New Deal be passed without any further delay, even though that deal has little to nothing to do with environmental issues. It is about socialism. We'll have more on that in a moment. Also, one of our favorite senators, we love John Kennedy of Louisiana. He will be here tonight with reaction to Biden's latest attempt to ban yet another popular kitchen appliance. They want my stove, they want my air conditioner. I'm telling you right now, over my dead body, I'm going to hold on to that. Anyway, also tonight, new evidence that Democratic voters are ready to move on from Joey and are now seriously weighing other options. But we begin tonight, a bombshell new report from JustTheNews.com editor-in-chief John Solomon, now confirmed by Fox News, quote, that federal prosecutors have notified Donald Trump that he is a criminal target and likely to be indicted imminently in a probe into alleged classified documents. I guess Hillary's right around the corner, and not far behind her is Joe Biden. Now, this after Trump's legal defense team reportedly asked the DOJ to delay the looming indictment because of allegations, serious ones, that a senior prosecutor tried to sway witness testimony by discussing a federal judgeship. Now, that allegation is still pending before a federal judge. Now, still, the DOJ apparently declined any kind of delay and will be moving forward at a rapid pace. In contrast, they've had Hunter Biden's laptop from hell since December of 2019, and that probe has been stalled 5 long years. But they call that equal justice and equal application of our laws, at least in this, psycho, dual justice system we now have. But in a blatant attempt to keep up with appearances, Hunter now will purportedly be indicted around the same time as former President Trump. Let me just stop right here. Hunter, mark my words, will likely not face any of the serious charges, nothing to do with the investigations of Jim Comer in the House Oversight Committee, definitely nothing that will implicate Pops, who he has to give half of his income to and pay his home repair bills, or as others refer to him as the big guy getting his 10%. This will be nothing other than a show indictment to cover their overtly political, never-ending persecution of any and all things Donald J. Trump. It appears the DOJ has 3 goals. 1, get Trump as soon as possible, prevent him from becoming president. 2, protect Joe Biden at all costs. And 3, try to save face by using poor old Hunter, the crack addict who does portraits of a crack addict and sells them for an astronomical amount of money for painting by numbers. I've never seen money like that for that. But they'll use him as a minor sacrificial lamb to justify going after Trump. So now the question is, when can we expect these looming indictments? All right, here with the very latest himself, he is the editor-in-chief, JustTheNews.com, John Solomon. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, let's talk about... So my understanding is that they have told Donald Trump that he is a criminal target and that this indictment could be as early as Friday?
Yeah, listen, no one knows when the indictment's going to come down until the grand jury hands it up, right? But I think they're on a fast pace. That's why the target notification, which is a required notification in the U.S. Attorney's Manual, has occurred. But there are some really big complications in this case, and I just want to focus on 3 of them. I reported a year ago, and I reported it at the time a decade ago. There's a ruling in the District Court of Columbia that says that a president has wide latitude to determine what papers he takes with him as personal, and that it's not really challengeable in court. That's going to be one of the things that the prosecutors are going to have to overcome. The second thing is there's been these leaks about a tape where the president allegedly says, I have a classified document I can't show. He doesn't use the word classified. The news reports are wrong. He uses words like secret or confidential, which could also mean colloquial terms, not the classified documents. And then the third thing is there is now this very serious allegation that the Trump team has made to the Deputy Attorney General and to the Chief Judge of the U.S. District Court in Washington. That allegation is a federal prosecutor working on the current case made comments to a lawyer with a cooperating witness in the case that he knew that the lawyer was up for a judgeship. So basically dangling a judgeship in connection with the investigation involving his witness. That's a very serious matter. Those are going to be three thresholds that the Justice Department's going to have to tackle if they do decide to secure an indictment against the president.
Okay, but it seems very likely. How do they justify, if it's going to be about classified or top secret documents, I think they run into an immediate problem, and that is the double standard regarding Hillary Clinton and even James Comey's, July of 2016 press conference when he laid out all the classified and top secret material she had. The same, we have 4 separate locations where they found a ton of classified materials as it relates to Joe Biden. So I'm assuming it's not going to be about documents. My assumption is it'll be a process crime. Now, if they go after an obstruction case, okay, that's fine. How do they get away from the comparison that Hillary Clinton deleted 33,000 emails with BleachBit, had devices that might have had those emails on them destroyed with hammers, and SIM cards removed? Wouldn't that meet the classic definition of an obstruction case?
Sure. Listen, I don't think this Justice Department and FBI have been too concerned about the appearance of a dual system of justice. How many of them have we highlighted on this show over the last 5 years? They seem to have, as Alan Dershowitz has always said, the get Trump mentality. But there are going to be challenges. Now, there's something interesting in the target notification. The law that they're citing for the classified documents is Section 793. It's a law that doesn't require you to prove that something is classified, just that it would have affected the national defense information. That's going to give the president's lawyers a lot of latitude to argue, well, maybe that's not national defense information. And what if this information was leaked by someone else even before the president referenced it? I think there's a lot of challenges that the Trump team sees in the prosecution. And quite frankly, I've talked to government lawyers. They have some concerns about how this case ends up.
All right, John Solomon, thank you for keeping us updated. We appreciate it. All right, now to a breaking report from FoxNews.com tonight with more damning evidence from against Joe and Hunter. In a newly uncovered email from 2016, Hunter was gushing over the generous birthday gifts from the founder of Burisma Holdings, that's the Ukrainian energy giant, writing, quote, "Oh, thanks for the beautiful birthday gifts," plural. It was far too extravagant, but much appreciated. Now, keep in mind, Hunter was already receiving $50,000 a month to sit on a board on that Ukrainian oil and gas giant, and at the same time telling Good Morning America that he had no experience in oil, energy, gas, coal, or Ukraine. Why do you think you're getting paid all this money? I don't know, he said. Could it be your dad's in charge of Ukrainian policy as vice president? He goes, probably. Anyway, a short time later, Hunter's father, Vice President Joe Biden, at the time, forced Ukraine to fire that prosecutor in 6 hours that was investigating the founder of Burisma and Hunter Biden himself. Is that a coincidence, or is that the real Ukrainian quid pro quo with Joe? Here with reaction, let's give a warm welcome. The co-host of the hit show, The Five, Judge Jeanine Pirro, is here.
Thank you. Wow. Boy.
All right, this is serious. I don't want to waste a minute with you because you have so much to say. And this is important. So I believe this indictment is real. I think we're going to see it, if not this week, probably sometime next week.
Yes.
Okay, they might indict Hunter right around the same time, but it's going to be on a gun application charge and tax charges. None of the things that Comer's investigating about China and Ukraine and Russia and monies and suspicious activity reports and shell corporations. Okay.
And foreign lobbying and not registering as a foreign agent. Remember, Paul Manafort was in solitary confinement for that, wasn't he?
Nearly 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So here's my question. I don't think they're going after Donald Trump on the issue of documents.
No, they can't.
Okay. So if they do, they have to go after Joe. and they have to go after Hillary.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So I'm guessing, tell me if I'm wrong, that they're going to go after process crime.
Of course they're going after a process crime. They can't possibly go after Donald Trump for these documents. First of all, Hillary, let's get her out of the way right away. She was never a president. She was never a vice president. She wants to be. I think she still wants to run, but that's another issue. And the truth is, for her to have these classified documents on a private email that Jim Comey said probably was hacked by a foreign government, that she then destroyed, which is obstruction of evidence, tampering with evidence, and 33,000 emails.
33,000 subpoenaed emails.
Subpoenaed emails. She knew about the subpoena. She knew it was relevant to the investigation into Benghazi. Okay, so you absolutely cannot let her go, not even mentioning what happened with Durham and the Durham investigation. Now, as it relates to Joe Biden, what we have right now is we have something like, I don't know, 1,850 boxes from when he was a senator. He's got records from when he was a senator, not even allowed to have information that's classified in various places in 4 different locations, classified. But they're not going after him. So the only way they can go after Donald Trump is say, oh, somehow he obstructed something or he did something to stop us from getting this information when he was working with the agency that's in charge of these documents.
All right, let's talk about, so originally the grand jury we heard was in Washington, D.C. We thought the document case would be in Washington, D.C. Little did we know that there was another grand jury convened, and this one in Miami, which would be where the jurisdiction of Mar-a-Lago is.
Right.
Does that mean that the J6 investigation aspect of the special counsel is in D.C. and the Mar-a-Lago case is in Miami? Because I don't think Donald Trump would have a shot in hell getting a fair jury in D.C. or New York or, frankly, Fulton County, Georgia, for that matter.
Right, there's no question. But
maybe Miami.
Maybe Miami. You know, what you've got is the January 6th event. I don't know if they have anything there. I don't know that they have evidence that they believe as prosecutors
they do.
can prove beyond
Many
a
of you will
reasonable
now
doubt.
peacefully and patriotically march so your voices can be heard.
Yeah, that crime. I forgot about that one. But what's going on in Mar-a-Lago and the way they took him down, the way they went in there, I mean, it is shocking what they did. But this is a dual system of justice. There is no question that there is a system for the Bidens and his son. And by the way, if they do indict Hunter Biden, I don't know anyone who's paid $2.5 million in taxes, in back taxes, who hasn't gone to jail. I mean, that in itself. By the way,
what about the guy that gave him the money, lends him the jet to go to his custody hearings because he doesn't want to pay for his own?
Yeah, his own. Oh, you mean the grandchild that the Bidens forgot about? I know Joe's forgetting things,
well,
but I think he forgot his fourth granddaughter.
They say they have 6 grandchildren. Right. They have a 7th one, and they only put 6 up on, I guess, the fireplace.
Well, you forgot.
The dog.
The dog.
They've had the dog had one.
A stocking for the dog.
How do you ignore a 4-year-old innocent little girl who is your biological granddaughter? That Joe and Jill Biden, where is your heart, your soul, and your conscience? That girl did nothing wrong. Acknowledge that little girl.
And it gets worse than that, Sean. Look, it goes to the character of the Bidens. They're supposed to be so empathic. They're supposed to be so kind. The truth is, they objected to that little girl having Biden as a last name. They went to court to stop that. They had to go to court to get
I would kind of think that might be a special gift if she doesn't have the last name. But
well, given the organized criminal enterprise that we've seen,
I tell
Joe
my
Biden
kids not to use my last name. So, you know. All right, but let me ask you this, because let's go to the one case that we do know. Yeah. Let's go to the quid pro quo. This is Joe Biden on tape bragging.
Oh,
he said, I was in Ukraine. He had $1 billion taxpayer dollars, $1 billion. And he said, I'm not giving you the billion unless you fire a prosecutor. Why would a vice president ever want a prosecutor in Ukraine fired? That's odd, right? Very strange.
Well, you know why it makes sense? It makes sense because that was a company that his son was working for and making $50,000 or $80,000 a month.
I'm walking everybody through this slower.
You want to walk it through? Okay.
So no vice president would ever want a prosecutor in Ukraine fired, right? And he says, you got 6 hours to do it. And he's bragging, telling the story after the fact. Son of a bee, they fired him.
Yeah.
Okay, that prosecutor, now you can take it from there.
Okay, so that prosecutor ends up getting fired. But here's the outrage. The outrage is that a president of the United States would wrap himself in the flag of this country and all the power and prestige that goes with that flag and go into a country and say, if you don't get rid of this prosecutor on this individual company, by the way, that my son and all his buddies are getting money from, I'm not going to give you $1 billion from the United States. That's our taxpayers' dollars. And you know what? He's dumb enough to come out and say he said it. That, as far as I'm concerned, is a pay to play.
And wait, and add to it, I mentioned earlier, Hunter on Good Morning America, no experience getting paid all this money. Listen.
He's got no experience, and Joe knows nothing about his foreign businesses.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Why would he lie about that? That's called consciousness of guilt.
All right, let me ask you a final question.
Yes.
And we appreciate you being here.
We're kind of ending each other's sentences.
No, that's true. I want to ask you about how does this impact Donald Trump's run for the presidency? Because I don't think it's just going to be this special counsel. I believe Fulton County's a done deal, too. I think so. He's now going to be facing New York, Fulton County, Miami, and then maybe Miami and D.C. with legal problems. This is not a small issue. How do you run successfully for president with all of that hanging over your head the whole time?
Well, first of all, I think Donald Trump has proven, based upon his 4 years in office, that he can withstand what none of us could withstand. I mean, I'd be hiding under a desk. All right? That's number one. Number two, you know, maybe one indictment, maybe one. But if you do 2, 3, 4 indictments, then you will have poked the eye of the tiger at that point. I think Americans see a dual system of justice. We see it on the local level with the defunding of police. We see it on the federal level with the Department of Justice calling parents domestic terrorists, and with the non-indictment of people that we know viscerally should be charged with a crime. I think it inures to his benefit, and I think in the end, people will see it that way.
All right, Judge Janine, great to see you. Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, tonight, the 2024 race is in full swing, but you wouldn't know it if you looked at Joe Biden's schedule. He's not campaigning at all and is maintaining his usual very light work week at the White House. Biden wants to be coronated by the DNC, but it's not a done deal and not even close. Look at the CNN poll. Only 60% of Democrats actually support Joe Biden. That is a historically low number for a sitting president. Meanwhile, up to 64% Democrats now would consider voting for Biden's challenger, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who now routinely is in the low 20s in the polls, and Joe's in like the 30s. And unlike Biden, RFK Jr. is actually on the campaign trail. RFK also visited the border, where he discovered firsthand that Joe Biden is not up to the job. Take a look at this.
Hey, everybody, I'm at the border wall around Yuma, Arizona. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. We've watched about 150 people come across. This is a humanitarian crisis because of the understanding across the globe that we now have an open border here. There are people being drawn here. They're being abused. There's all kinds of just horrific, terrible, terrible stories. And this is not a good thing for our country. It's not a good thing for these people. And it is unsustainable.
Wow, that's a Democrat. RFK delivering a much-needed dose of reality to the entire Democratic Party, all while gaining real support and sparking, quote, jitters inside of Biden's orbit. He's also against biological men and women's sports and was dead set against how the country was treated with regards to COVID, and his candidacy is getting very interesting. Now, his strong performance is proof that our current president, yes, the weak, frail, and cognitive mess of a President Joe Biden could be vulnerable, and RFK might not just be his only serious challenger. Because certain liberal governor from, let's say, the state of California, could he win the Democratic nomination? Because I'm hearing a lot of chatter that people are encouraging him to run. I wouldn't bet against it. Now, meanwhile, despite the DOJ's best efforts, Donald Trump continues to push forward with a very aggressive campaign. Take a look. Best-selling book, The Puppeteers, The People Who Control America. Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz along with former senior advisor to President Clinton, Mark Penn, is with us. By the way, Jason, I love the book. You know, I find these positions interesting of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I really do. And one, he's against biological men playing in women's sports. I agree with him on that. You heard his comments on the border. I agree with him on that. And you know what? Whether you agree or disagree with his position on vaccinations, at least he had the courage to stand apart and speak his mind. And he had a ton of critics. And I admire people that are willing to go against the grain.
Yeah, no, look, I totally agree, Sean. I think that's right. I think compassion, authenticity, they win the day. You can't fake those things. And what what Kennedy Jr. is exemplifying is he's going out to the border. He's talking to real people. He's holding his own camera at 2 o'clock in the morning saying the border is broken. And surprise, surprise, common sense actually makes sense to a lot of people, even some of those Democrats. And once they learn to read and write, Sean, guess what? They're going to start going and doing to people like Kennedy who actually, walk the walk and get out there. Amazing how that actually works.
No, it is. You know, Mark Penn, I look at this, and I know you were a pollster for the Clintons for a long time. And you, I think, agree with me that the Democratic Party has swung really far to the hard left. So far, they've been able to sustain it. I think ultimately it's unsustainable because I don't think these policies work. Your thoughts?
Well, I think that we're going to see what happens with this nomination right now, because I think Biden is only getting, in my poll, about 40% of the Democrats. He's got to improve his numbers. A lot of people think he has moved too far to the left. And so if by September he doesn't improve his numbers, Kennedy moves up, I think you'll see 2 or 3 governors get in this race, and you'll have a real Democratic primary.
All right.
This
so
president
you
is
agree
vulnerable.
with me? Hold on.
Can he do it?
Well, who are the other? Do you agree with me? Look, if I had Gavin Newsom's phone right here in front of me, I would guarantee you he's getting dozens of text messages from prominent Democrats and donors saying, please, Gavin, get in this race and run. Do you disagree with that? And let me know if you do. If not, who do you think the other governors are?
Oh, I completely agree. And I think the governor of Illinois and the governor of Michigan, I think those 3 governors are poised to run in the Democratic Party. Maybe even AOC will get in. I think this could really become a wide open primary.
Wow. Okay. Will the party going hard left hurt them in the end?
Look, I think the party's got to come back to the center. I think this budget deal was a move to the center. If it's going to win, the Democratic Party's got to move to the center, and I think the party that is in the center in this election will be the one that wins.
All right, we appreciate it. By the way, thank you, Mark Penn, and also congratulations. It's the new book, The Puppeteers, The People Who Control America, Amazon.com, Hannity.com, bookstores everywhere. Jason, thank you. Coming up, the East Coast blanketed in smoke from Canadian wildfires. Naturally, AOC is using that opportunity to push for more new green socialism. Charlie Arnold, Tudor Dixon, they join us as we continue. Today's smoke from the Canadian wildfires, they blanketed the entire east coast of the U.S., creating a scary Martian-like scene in New York City especially. And as usual, Democrats, they wasted no time. They went right to politicizing the crisis. AOC using the wildfire and heat wave in Puerto Rico to once again push her radical Green New Deal, or the climate alarmist religious cult agenda, tweeting, quote, "It bears repeating now how unprepared we are for the climate crisis." Earlier today, Outkick host Charlie Arnold, well, she spoke with New Yorkers about the city's deteriorating air quality. Here's what they had to say.
There are politicians, extremely liberal ones like AOC, who think that this is a reason to now push a plan that would cost the country $94 trillion. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I feel like we should do a little bit more looking into what maybe caused it, because forest fires can happen from anything from science reasons to one guy throwing a cigarette in a Bush and, causing that. So before we start spending trillions of dollars that we kind of need right now, maybe we should do some research as to what's going on first.
Do you think that there's any need for climate change legislation?
I think it's they do something. They should do something about it.
Okay, but you're totally comfortable being out here, smoke and all, wildfire smoke and all. Did you think about putting on a mask?
I didn't care about Corona. I should have cared about this.
Does this, in your mind, make you feel like there needs to be some climate change legislation?
Yes.
Even though it's from forest fires in Canada that maybe wouldn't be prevented even if the legislation was in place?
I don't know if there's much that we can do, especially considering it is coming from another country. But I think we should all be concerned about global warming anyways, because this is overall just going to get worse and worse.
Yes, definitely. It's a golden opportunity for people like AOC to push their agenda to the people's throat.
All right, Charlie now joins us along with podcast host Tudor Dixon is with us. My favorite is, I didn't care about coronavirus. I don't care about the smoke, which was funny. Here's what nobody talks about. There is a science. You can get an advanced college degree in forestry.
Yeah.
There's something called controlled burns that climate alarmist cult members are all dead set against. And you see, if you have a controlled burn, that prevents the bigger fires like the one they're experiencing in Little Justin's neighborhood in Canada that's now making it smoke all the way down here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people realize what's happening. They're remaining cool, calm, collected. I think, like you just mentioned, a lot of people are just having PTSD from seeing so many people wearing masks again.
By the way, what were those two young, healthy people doing with a mask
Double
on?
masking, by the way. They were double masked
double
up.
masked.
I think a lot of people, they were comparing today the air quality to places like New Delhi and Qatar, but those are places that experience overpollution year-round. This is just really a one-off event. It's caused by forest fires in Canada. People aren't too concerned, but AOC, of course, using this as her golden opportunity, no pun intended. You saw the sky today.
Right.
Absolutely salivating over this because this is a great chance for her to do some money grabbing, some fundraising for her Democratic cronies, right?
And Tudor, this is the thing about, if you look at the Green New Deal that she's pushing, it has nothing to do with the environment. It has guaranteed pre-K, guaranteed college, government paid, guaranteed government job, guaranteed government wage, guaranteed government health care, guaranteed government retirement, guaranteed government healthy food. I prefer not to eat nuts and berries for the rest of my life. I actually would like a steak or beef or something that they don't want us to have. So, I mean, the Green New Deal has nothing to do with that, but yet they want to spend $100 trillion taxpayer dollars, which we can't afford anyway. It's all redistribution.
Of course, and the truth is very inconvenient. Besides, she wouldn't want to call out her fellow socialist up in Canada and say that he hasn't taken care of forest management, so let's blame it on climate change. And I mean, it is shockingly bad. I think what Charlie said is right. This is something that we're seeing, and we can see what it is actually like in other countries, because this is Shanghai year-round. I mean, yesterday when I came out of the hotel in New York City, I looked around and I was like, did the rapture come and I didn't go? I mean, this is pretty crazy, right? It looked bad.
Well, it definitely looked bad. Now, you were out there. Now, I keep reading and hearing reports and people being interviewed. I had a hard time breathing. And I'm like, I'm walking in the same place you're walking in, and I don't feel a thing. And I'm trying to understand. I work out regularly. So I think I'm relatively in tune with my body. I think if it was difficult, if I was having difficulty breathing, I would notice.
Yeah.
But these are young people saying this.
I think people
Are they all
just,
snowflakes?
I think people, yes, I think people just like to make a big deal out of nothing. You know, we talk about people playing the victim card. This is just one reason for people to start complaining again. I mean, my biggest question, because I seem to be on the smoke beat reporting for you this week. Yesterday was the free crack pipes. Today, the smoke in the air. I'm just wondering, has anyone investigated any type of correlation?
But in case you don't know, that was my favorite story because they're giving away, let's see, free crack pipes,
Yeah.
free Narcan. You get to test your drugs for free in case they have fentanyl in them.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you get condoms with lubricant on top of it, and lip balm.
Yeah, lip balm. Don't forget, smoking
No.
crack is not fun without lip balm.
You can't have it. All right, we'll give you the last word, Tudor Dixon.
I thought that what Charlie reported on yesterday might actually have been the cause of the cloudiness in New York. I'm like, well, we already know what is. This isn't Canada. This is clearly New York policies. It all goes back to Democrat policies. AOC should be complaining about that.
Okay, AOC should have taken those Amazon jobs when she had the shot. All right, Charlie, thank you. Tudor, good to see you. When we come back, the Biden administration moving forward with its gas stove crackdown, and it looks like Americans are going to be paying a lot more. The one and only Senator John Kennedy, who we love, is next. Straight ahead.
حاولوا لصقوا في الطوموبيل ما يشوفناش راه هو غادي قدامنا ياسين دار على اليمين دار على اليمين راه هو